BCA-101. At the end of March, 3/31/17, I believe, day 29. This is a Friday. We logged in and looked at a number of examples on the computer. We logged in Windows 8 to allow us to look at the examples. We talked about completion of Unit 5, the assessment, the discussion, and your outline. We reviewed some network terms. You get an IP address from a DHCP server. Remember, we'll talk a little bit more about the physical addresses. We also get a default gateway from DHCP. And DHCP can also supply your DNS server access to that. And DNS allows us, a DNS server would take something, if you type Dell.com, a DNS server will match that up with the IP so you can find that in the internet. And there's DNS servers in the internet, main ones, and then ISPs also have them. And some people in their internal networks, they have DNS, the college's DNS servers. And then these servers, the main ones in the internet, keep these other ones updated. We talked about addressing, we reviewed, we talked about the physical address, the media access control, and we talked about the logical address. An IP address, you can set it with a DHCP server. We talked about that. It could be version 4 or version 6. We'll talk a little more about security issues in version 6. A lot of locations will give you a private address, and we use a public address to go out on the internet. In addressing, to make sure it's clear, a lot of IP4 address, this part's the network, and this part's the host, these octets. Now, one thing I have to clarify, that is not always true. This can vary. So that first part and the host part, they don't have to be a set size. So that can vary. Some students, looking at the work they turned in for the assignment, they talked about Mac, a PC, and then they talked about a Mac, OS 10 on the Mac, PuTTY, use PuTTY on a PC. Be careful when you download that, putty.org. You can use the terminal on a Mac computer. Don't confuse that with this Mac address. On a Mac computer, ifconfig will give you some information about the IP address. And ipconfig gives you information for a PC. We talked a little bit too. Companies have an intranet, for example, like at the college portal. It works just like an internet, but you don't allow outside access. You can set up websites, so browsers, or not browsers, but search engines, the spiders, won't search them. You can stop that so they don't search them. And you can build kind of your own intranet using the internet. Or this you can do right within a company. It's way easier for people to use a browser to get the information they need than to work through some file system. Work through the files. Now if you want to let some outside people in, just specifically to your intranet, you can create an extranet. It's like an intranet, but only you decide just which people can get in. We talked a little bit more about bandwidth, and data usage. So you need to be able to distinguish that. Bits per second, data usage, how many bytes. So ISPs will allow so much speed to go through the pipe, how big the pipe is, and then they can also measure how much you're actually sending through, and they can put some limits on that too. So they work both ways, and usually those determine cost. If you want more bandwidth, like right here, more bandwidth or more data, you'll pay more. The IP is what's used to indicate where you're going. So DNS will take a URL and convert it into, actually takes the domain name from the URL, converts it into an IP that'll get you to wherever you're going on the internet. We've also reviewed, here we have a private address for the internal usage, for example, the work server. And then here is the public address for the same thing. That's 207.165.226, a little hard to see, 184. So 184, that's 84, there's 184 there. And that's a public address, this one right here. So you can use that on the internet, so you can use that address here to access that is linked to the computer internally to access that right there. Alright, so to finish up, just a reminder, we're finishing up Unit 5, so we're going to start Unit 6 on Wednesday. Monday you'll work on the skills project in groups that test a lot of the skills from Unit 5. Alright, that's it.